This story is inspired by the kind of chilling tales you might find on Reddit's NoSleep forum, where users share their most disturbing experiences. This one left a mark on me, and I'm sure it will haunt you too. A few years ago, I came across a post titled, "The Watcher in the Woods." The user, who went by the name Sarah, shared a terrifying experience from her childhood. Here's her story. When Sarah was 12, her family moved to a small town in the middle of nowhere. Their new house was on the edge of a dense forest. It was an old, creaky house, but Sarah loved the idea of exploring the woods and having adventures. Her parents warned her to be careful, but she was young and fearless. One afternoon, Sarah decided to venture deeper into the woods than she ever had before. She walked for what felt like hours, losing track of time. The trees grew denser and the light dimmed, but she wasn't afraid. She loved the feeling of being surrounded by nature. As the sun began to set, she realized she had gone too far. She turned to head back home, but found herself disoriented. Every direction looked the same. She started to panic, quickening her pace, trying to find a familiar path. That's when she saw it, a small, rundown cabin nestled among the trees. Relieved to see signs of civilization, she approached the cabin. It looked abandoned, with broken windows and an overgrown yard. Still, she hoped someone might be there to help her. She knocked on the door, but there was no answer. As she turned to leave, she noticed something strange. There were no animal sounds. The forest was eerily silent. She heard a rustling behind her and spun around. There, standing at the edge of the trees, was a man. He was tall and thin, with long, unkempt hair and dark, hollow eyes. He didn't move or say anything, just stood there staring at her. "Can you help me?" Sarah called out, her voice trembling. The man didn't respond. He just kept watching her with those unsettling eyes. Fear gripped her, and she turned and ran as fast as she could, not caring which direction she was going. She didn't stop until she broke through the tree line and saw her house in the distance. She burst through the front door, panting and crying. Her parents were alarmed and asked what happened, but she couldn't explain. All she could say was, "There's someone in the woods." Her parents reassured her it was just her imagination, but Sarah knew what she saw. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept hearing noises outside her window, like footsteps crunching on the gravel. She lay in bed, too scared to move, listening. In the morning, she found scratches on her window frame, as if someone had been trying to get in. She showed her parents, but they dismissed it as animal marks. Sarah knew better. Over the next few weeks, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. She would catch glimpses of the man in the woods, always just at the edge of her vision. He never came closer, but he was always there. She stopped going into the forest, but the fear didn't go away. One night, Sarah woke up to a strange noise. It was a soft tapping, like fingers on glass. She looked towards her window and saw the man standing outside, his face pressed against the glass, his eyes locked on hers. She screamed, and her parents came running. By the time they got to her room, the man was gone. Her parents finally took her seriously and called the police. They searched the woods but found no sign of the man. The only thing they discovered was the old cabin, which turned out to be abandoned for decades. Sarah's family moved away shortly after that. She never saw the man again, but the experience left her with a lifelong fear of the woods. She still has nightmares about those hollow eyes watching her from the darkness. So, the next time you're browsing Reddit NoSleep, remember Sarah's story. Some things are more than just stories, they're warnings. And sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones watching from the shadows.